Moving on to the second piece of legislation being considered today, let me now address H.R. 1675, a package of 5 pieces of legislation. These bills undermine the integrity of capital markets and diminish the critical information available to investors. This is not promoting quote-unquote capital formation. Instead, these bills reduce transparency and important protections that long have made our markets the envy of the world. Under this package, companies will be able to compensate their employees with up to $10 million in stock annually without providing them basic information to help them understand the value of that stock. Many of these bills also ignore recent efforts by the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, to undertake more reasonable and responsible forms of regulatory relief. For example, considering Title III of this package as a standalone legislation during the last Congress, the SEC finalized its no action letter or the relief commission the commission can pursue under its own administrative authority to exempt certain merger and acquisition brokers from registration. Rather than acknowledging that relief and amending this provision in the bill, Title III inexplicably leaves out 8 important investor protections. Accordingly, the bill allows bad actors and shell companies to use the exemption and fails to require that certain basic conflicts of interest be disclosed. Title IV prevents the SEC from requiring structured searchable data for corporate filings. I'll discuss my concerns more when I offer my amendments on the floor in consideration. Similarly, Title V of H.R. 1675 seeks to impose onerous retrospective rule requiring requirements on the SEC. This provision ignores existing statutory requirements as well as voluntary efforts by the SEC to study their rules, such as its broad-based examination of issuer disclosures, equity market structure, and the definition of accredited investor. Title V, however, does go further and seems to require the SEC to complete a review of all of its rules since 1934 in just 5 years. It also allows the SEC to unilaterally repeal congressional mandates. That's right. If the SEC didn't like something dictated under the recently passed FAST Act under H.R. 1675, they could simply repeal the implementing rules. Now, my Democratic colleagues and I have fought to improve these bills to maintain transparency, protect investors, and to take into account the hard work of the SEC, but these efforts were rejected during the committee markup process. Thus, we now have a package of bills that I believe will harm both job creation and opportunities for American workers to invest. In conclusion, both of the bills being considered before the Rules Committee today are not good for consumers, not good for investors, bad for financial stability, and bad for fighting financial crime and money laundering. I urge members to allow a fulsome debate on the floor and to ultimately oppose these pieces of legislation. Thank you for your time.